Shalom, 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 Yasha. This your boy, Brother Shama, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Your Reasonable Service. All right, your reasonable services. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed his gospel and his truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right, like I said, today's lesson is going to be called Your Reasonable Service. And as you continue in this walk, in this ministry, you understand that, right, this is your true job. You might have a job at the plantation, you might have this, but this is your true job. This is your true service. All right. And this is the only thing that fulfills you, is following, the ways of Yahawah Bahasham, right? and taking this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding at the end of the day. Okay. This is 2 Esdras chapter 8 and verse number 4. It says, "So answered I and said, swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom." Right? Because wisdom is more valuable than anything. Okay? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is the most important thing on this earth, man. All right? And it's the most valuable thing on the earth. Okay? It says, so answered I and said, swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom. For thou hast agreed to give ear, and art willing to prophesy, for thou hast no longer space than only to live. Okay? What else is there to do when you think about it? At the end of the day, and it's continued to, harp on my spirit because, the more, you see these different things, in life, and you see that, this most important thing is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All right. When we go to, let me get that real quick. Wisdom of Solomon 9 and verse number 17. Right. And it says, and thy counsel who have known, except thou give wisdom and send thy Holy Spirit from above. It says, for so the ways of them which lived on the earth were reformed, and men are taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and are saved through wisdom. Okay? So through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding comes salvation. All right? Because it leads you and it guides you, ultimately, and it, through the prophecies, through the different things, that's why this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is so important. Okay. And matter of fact, let's go to, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is so important, right? Because it's your guide, to show you what's going on. All right. Let's get this real quick. Sirach 39 in verse number 1, right? It says, the scribes learned in the law of the Most High. It says, Ecclesiastes chapter 39 verse 1, it says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. Okay, and you're meditating on this, right? And it's what's this crazy? I'm sitting up here, got a day off from the plantation. I'm just chilling, trying to see what's on TV, and everything I turn to. Used to love, watching sports. Can't even watch that really no more, right? Then you're trying to look through, it's nothing on TV, and it's just like the only thing that motivates, and gets my spirit going is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man. All right, in all aspects, okay, in this prophecy. So, the prophecies and the things that are going on. Okay, this is how you know that this place is waxing old. All right, it's old and through. You look at it, man. They have the same old movies. Like, how many times can Batman? Can you do a movie about Batman or Spider-Man? You know what I mean? I mean, how many movies, of the same stuff, right? There's no creativity. There's nothing left in this place. It's all been drained, right? And when you just think about it, everything, right? People get up to do the same thing over and over again, right? And like I say, it just truly reminds you, of the movie The Matrix, right? Your boy, what is it, Mr. Anderson, right? He was just getting up in routine, doing the same things over and over. Okay. It says, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancients and will be occupied in the prophecies. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. Okay. And if you're just always kind of, in taking this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you're continuing to, to eat this roll, all right, and continuous, right? You go back and you eat some more, right? And each time you eat it, it's a different flavor. It hits every single time, you know. But this is, like I said, there's no other space than only to live. This is what we have, right? This is our reasonable duty, right? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Let's get that. Romans 12, right? It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Okay? And you think about that, right? Because there's things that, that you want to do, right? But you don't do it, because you'd rather, your spirit is, remember, your flesh and your spirit, are fighting, What is that? Salakia, I'm just trying to look this up. Salakia. Galatians. Let's get that. Let's finish this off, right? So it says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. All right. It says, and be not conformed to this world, right? But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High, and as you see, when the longer you get into this thing, the more the things of the world just don't appease you. You're just like, it is what it is, It's not, it doesn't have that same effect like it used to, right? Because this, matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Let's go to Galatians, right? Galatians 6 and let's see. Salakia. Thought I had it, Salakia. Oh, Galatians 5, Salakia. Galatians 5 and 17. Let's get to it, Salakia. Galatians 5 verse 17, it says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and they are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would," And this is the thing, man, it's like, the flesh want to sit there, they want to watch, see how many points, Curry's gonna do, or you're gonna see, you want to do these things, right? But the spirit is like, nah, you could be doing something way better. You could be, edifying, or you could be reading, you could be meditating on these scriptures. Hey, check your phone, see if there's any breaking news or anything that's going on, and that's that thing that's going on and warring in your within your body. All right, because that flesh and the spirit, they're contrary, and they're constantly battling out, and and to the points where you have to, it's good to, to fast, so that spirit takes over, and that spirit will help you continue to meditate, in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, Let me just get this real quick. These are just things that pop to my head as I'm thinking. Yep, here we go. Let's go to the book of Galatians. So it's a constant thing where you just, but as I see, and I haven't been in this walk, long, but I can see just the longer you're in this thing, the things of this world are just, like Solomon said, they're vain and vexation of spirit, right? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 17, and it says, "And I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly," right? And once you gain this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right, that takes over that folly and that madness that was in your head, before, just being a nigga spirit, right? The more you fill it up with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the less that stuff goes away, all right? It says, "And I gave my heart," right, my mind, "to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly, and I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit." The things of this world, man, right, is when you look at it, it's all just vain and vexation of spirit. It's the same routine. When you think about it, it's just you're a hamster in a hamster wheel. That's really how we're living in this society. It's just like, dang, you come back from teaching, and all right, tomorrow I get myself mentally focused to go back to the plantation and then do it all over again. It's just like an ongoing cycle, right? It says, reading on verse 18, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow," right? Because the more you know, the more you see this place for what it truly is, man, right? The veil is lifted from your face, and you can truly see, The scriptures tell you, let's get that. Book of John, chapter 8 and 32, right? And it says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And as you sit here and you see, and you just see the folliness of this place, you see the wickedness of this place. You see this place for what it truly is. And it's just a vexation of spirit, being here, and understanding, the conditions that we're living in, and seeing our people in the conditions that they're in, just watching, our people and how they maneuver, you know. I don't know if I was talking about it at camp yesterday, but I know I mentioned it to the brothers. It's just like you're sitting here and you can watch Jake and Eve, right? And they're out here trying to hustle, trying to get these material things, right? That are not going to be worth anything, and they're eventually going to be destroyed here in Babylon, right? But they'll hustle and bustle their whole life to get this stuff, right? For what, right? And I was watching this Jake, he pulled up in a nice little, like a Tahoe or something, nice little vehicle, man. You can see he keeps it clean and got it all nice and everything. And he's getting out. He can barely walk, man. Right? I can kind of tell that he's probably doing like construction work, right? He's beaten and broken down, man. But that's what this life gives you, right? And with that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that there's more to this, that we're truly not living. And with that, let's go back to that. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes 1:18. It says, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow." Right? Because like I said, you truly see this place, Babylon, for what it truly is, man. You see the world, being ruled by the wicked, and every day you wake up in this, and it grieves you, right? That's why it tells you, in the same book, 7 and verse number 7, Ecclesiastes 7:7, it says, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad." You wake up every morning and you're ready to get up out of here. You're ready to get up out of here every day. Just seeing the wickedness, right? You got, these Israelites, going back and forth about the same folly, just keeping the drama, trying to get views, right? Instead of preaching this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, instead of, being a sacrifice and edifying and feeding the sheep, you're going with the goddamn Real Housewives of Atlanta drama, man, right? That's all you want to continue to do, right? Instead of truly edifying and feeding the sheep, right? But it says, "Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." And this place will try to give you little things to try to keep you, passive, and all right, okay, all right, not that angry. They'll do these little things to try to soothe you, in your captivity, right? But no, man, a wise man, wakes up every day. You're seeing the disheartening. You see our people, man, strung out. You see your parents, man, working, continuing to work, right? You see the school systems that your children got to go to. Like, it's just all madness at the end of the day. And you know that it's all meaningless, and people are just going in this routine, right? Because it's the institutionalization of this place. All right. And once you kind of snap out of it, you take yourself out of the matrix, and you can kind of see what's going on. You're looking around, you're like, damn, and everybody's in it, man. Right? And you only see, in the most of the time, you only see a few people who are unplugged out of the matrix, and everybody else is still plugged in. And it's just like, it's madness, But, that's what that, going back, Ecclesiastes 1:18, it says, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow." And at that point, that this is truly the only true job that we really have at this time. There's really nothing else left. Okay. And to understand that Yahawah has trusted you with this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, hey, you continue to stay occupied in this. Okay. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, "But as we were allowed of the Most High to be put into trust with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but the Most High, which trieth our hearts," right? Our minds. Okay. So being entrusted, you're being given this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from above. Okay. Let's get a comparison real quick. In the G&T, it says, "Instead, we always speak as the Most High wants us to, because he has judged us worthy to be entrusted with the good news." It says, "We do not try to please people, but to please the Most High, who tests our motives." Okay. To see if you're sincere in this thing, and when everything is taken away from around you, right? And you can still stand and continue on, right? That how remember wisdom, it moves, crookedly until it can trust you. And once it can trust you, then it'll run with you, and it'll be there for you, but it's got to try you, and you see wisdom, tries a lot of people and then it skirts away, and this is that main focus, right? Is to do this and to preach this gospel, man, to preach this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to people. But we know it's not for everybody. All right. 1 Corinthians 9:16. It says, "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel." Right? And like we brought out in 2nd Esdras, there's no other space than only to live. It's only, what else is there but to preach this gospel, to do this wisdom, knowledge, to edify and feed the sheep, in these last days. Okay. When everything just is not, it's not exciting. It's not fulfilling, right? The only thing that's fulfilling is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man, right? This gospel, man, this good news that we have. Okay. And we take it and we run with it and we deliver the message. Okay. It says, "For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me." Okay. And we do this thing willfully, like this is, the best time of part of our day. And sometimes, you gotta, even then, you gotta pray, Yahawashi, give me the spirit to do these lessons, to continue to feed the sheep, to edify the sheep. All right. To stay focused, to meditate. All right. But this is our reasonable service in these days. Okay. When all hell is breaking loose. Right. Remember, this is going to be the stability of our times. All right. And this is what the Lord has entrusted us to preach, this gospel. So we must do it. All right. It says, "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of." Right. Because it's not of us. It's of Yahawah Bahasham, who gave it to us. It says, "For necessity is laid upon me." Right. Told us to eat that roll. Go out to the highways and hedges. Right. Go to the unicorn. Feed and edify the sheep. Feed my sheep. That's what Yahawashi told Peter. Okay. And those were the examples. And that's what we do. Okay. And this is our reasonable service. Okay. The reasonable service that was given unto us. All right. And we must continue on in that. All right. But I just wanted to do this lesson, just a little quick lesson, Lord's will. This was edifying, right? But with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men and to the rest of the elect. Stay diligent, stay focused. Keep praying for one another, right? Double honors to the apostles and elders on down from GMS who have ruled well to the spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. And has pushed this gospel and this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. All right, continue on. All right, this is of a necessity. All right, this is of a necessity. All right, and this is your reasonable service. All right, and with that, I'll say shalom.